to introduce Ruchira. Ruchira, I'm sorry, I'm not able to present slide here, but I would love to talk about you. Ruchira straddles the corporate ladder, corporate and academic world. She is executive coach, adjunct faculty at several top-tier business schools, including Booth, and runs a boutique consulting firm focused on organizational strategy solutions, all in one. Ruchira's diverse and eclectic background in mergers and acquisitions, organization effectiveness, and strategy execution, coupled with 2 decades of experience in emerging markets in Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa, helps her grasp challenging people issues and align them with their business priorities. She is the author of Coaching the Secret Code to Uncommon Leadership, commissioned by Penguin Random House and endorsed by luminaries like Sheryl Sandberg, Sydney Finkelstein, and Kiran Majumdar-Shaw. The book released globally in March 2021 to much acclaim and is recommended by several academics as an essential read for aspiring and experienced managers. Our moderator for today's discussion is Nima Parekh, class of 1998, president and founder of Mezzanine Consulting LLC, and currently the president of Chicago Booth Women's Network. Welcome to you both, ladies. Nima, over to you.
Thank you, Ekta. It's a pleasure to be here today. As many of you know, Chicago Booth Women's Network hosts events around the world, and our vision is women empowering women for professional success. This year's virtual CBWN Leadership Summit is a global virtual series of events centered on women leading in a time of COVID. So how appropriate to have a capstone event, which speaks to not just leading in a time of COVID, but well after. This is the 10th and final event in that series. And as this capstone to our 2021 Leadership Summit, we are here today with Ruchira Chaudhary to get her unique perspective on leading and coaching. While she does provide many compelling and practical examples in her book, today here, we're going to highlight just a few key ideas we think are specifically relevant to our CBWN members in understanding how through the principles of coaching, we need to evolve not just how we lead, but how we expect to be led. But before we get started, I want you all to know here, as with all CBW events, who you are and what you share is both valued and respected. We all here need to have the trust and confidence for free exchange of ideas and thoughts, feelings, and embracing perspectives and views perhaps different than our own. Only then can we truly empower one another. So with that, let's dive in. Ruchira, thank you for joining us. I would love to start off with a little bit about the inspiration for your book. Was there an impetus that you saw or experienced out there that you wanted to react to? And in addition to that, what did you want to accomplish with writing the book?
Thank you, Nima. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you for the fabulous opportunity. So Ekta was struggling to get the slide up. I'll show you what was on the slide. It was actually a picture of me, which was probably 6 years older. So I looked a tad slimmer, perhaps, and more happening, but that's pretty much it. And, you know, the cover of my book, which I can hold up for you. So you didn't really miss very much. That's Coaching the Secret Code to Uncommon Leadership. Now that we've got that out of the way, I have to admit that this has been a real delight. I've had the pleasure of working with these 2 fantastic women. I think Nima probably knows my book better than I do. They have toiled over ensuring that this session today is truly one that adds value. And I certainly hope we do, because unlike a lot of fireside chats that I've had, actually I've done it for many organizations and some for Booth as well. They're good conversations. I've had some fantastic conversations. But I think the attempt today is to go beyond just a conversation. We've tried to, as Nima said, we've tried to pull together a few aha moments, just hopefully give you some real insights today and also engage in a dialogue where we leave you behind with some learnings, hopefully practical in nature. So the question was, why the book? What was the inspiration? It's a slightly longer story, and if you humor me a bit, I will digress and tell you more about it. So I think in many ways, Chicago Booth has a lot to do with my story. It was 2013. I had just finished the mid-career MBA from Singapore, the AXP 11. I was a class of AXP 11. And, I was armed with these new ideas, and I thought I could completely conquer the corporate world and change it. Very quickly, I realized that wasn't happening. And I found myself in an organization which was a very coveted financial services firm, but the work culture was rather toxic. I was struggling day on day, and I was leading part of strategy and org design. But I woke up every morning thinking, do I really need to go to work? Because I was looking at Excel sheets and really trying to figure out who we were letting go. It was anything but org design. And at this juncture in my life, I got a call from Chicago booth. They were launching their ADP program, the Accelerated Development Program in Singapore. And they were looking for somebody to be their resident executive coach. Now, flattered as I was also a bit taken aback because I never thought of myself as a coach. Or rather, I don't think I had appreciation for the word coaching. Because like a lot of people, we all went to booths. So I think it's a safe space to say that. I found the whole idea of coaching very fuzzy and intangible and rather amorphous because, there are no numbers involved and you don't quite know how and when you've made the difference. So flattered as I was, I didn't think I was up to it. But it was also, as I said, a very turbulent juncture in my life. And I figured it wasn't a bad idea to give this a shot. I should add that I was trained in several psychometric tools. A lot of CEOs who'd been consultants in my past life had given me good advice that, having conversations with you really gives us clarity. So I figured there was nothing to lose. And I went ahead and did this coaching stint with Chicago booth in Singapore. And I guess I did something right, which made me realize that coaching was a lot more than just the fuzzy amorphous bits that I had envisioned. In essence, I was helping a leader or leaders untangle the knots in their head. All these thoughts in our head just become these really big knots. And when you have that sounding board, that non-judgmental individual whose only aim is to make you shine brighter, to make you go higher, essentially you untangle those knots and then you form patterns, much like the cover of the book, right? Where you have this knot, the knot unravels and then the individual goes higher and shines brighter. That's what I was attempting to do. So that's the story of coaching. And Singapore is a little village for some of you who might know about it. The other business schools found out about me and I did many, many such coaching sessions. And I also started teaching a class at Booth and some other business schools in Singapore. The leader is coach. We moved to India 3 years later and I had the opportunity to write this book. And so now, long-winded story to come to Nima's question. When Penguin commissioned this book, they were really keen to address this gap in the market. And I thought to myself, and I said, this is a fantastic opportunity to spread a powerful message. To spread the message that the leader today, more than ever, has to be the enabler and the coach that takes you higher, that makes you shine brighter. These are very turbulent times. And more than ever, we need leaders who can navigate these choppy waters with a steady hand at the helm. You need to think about building those reservoirs of trust. You have to think about resilience. You have to think about empathy. And most importantly, you have to be those role models that take people along in the journey. So I hope that through the book and through all my life experiences and my experience in that organization, which had a complete vacuum of coaching, and also by contrast, my own coaching and the coaches and mentors I've met through my journey, I've been able to put a lot of that into this book. So thank you again for the opportunity to share some of it.
Thank you. And I think it's very obvious in your book, all the different experiences that you've had and how many of them relate to us and we just don't know it yet. So I'm hoping that some aha moments will happen for many of you during this call. I can tell you that it happened throughout reading the book for me. So we're going to start right in with something that I thought was particularly interesting. So Carolyn, if we can do the first poll question, we'd love for you to tell us, we're going to see that pop up. And Carolyn, you'll have to see it. Will we see it as well?
Yes.
Ruchira, if you can just indicate when you see that poll question is going to be about whether or not you have a mentor.
I see it. Yes.
If you currently have a mentor. Yes, no, and some Not sure.
Not sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. So if you can all respond to that question, and then yes. Okay. So Carolyn, when we have a good 70, this question particularly interesting, said yes, and sometimes it was actually just something that formed and developed on its own, and other times still is it was when I sought it out on my own. So now that we have the poll, let's show the results. Okay, so 30% of us do. Fantastic. 67% not yet. And then there's 3% who are not sure, which is a fair answer. And I see that it looks like we also did the second poll question as well, which is, do you currently have a coach? 73% no. So definitely a lot more of us have mentors than we have coaches. And as far as having coaches, the fact that a third of us do is fantastic. Ruchira, tell me about your reaction to these results. Is this something that you would expect to see, or is it something that you're surprised to see?
I'm a tad surprised, to be honest, because through all the sessions that I've had, through all the research I've done, a lot more women leaders, a lot more women tend to have mentors shaping their career journey. And the responses to coaching is not, it doesn't surprise me. Coaching in itself is a concept that's only it's at a very nascent stage. And I think for a lot of us, including me, as I told you earlier, we don't quite truly appreciate what coaching is. So let's step back a little bit and let me explain this. We use the term mentor and coach rather interchangeably. A lot of us do. I did that until I sort of got into the mechanics of it. But I think it's important to make that distinction because it's a significant one. A mentor, by definition, is somebody who tells you what to do. A mentor guides you. And think about a mentor as somebody who's older, rather influential, somebody whose opinion you value. And a mentor could come from anywhere. Could be an ex-client, could be an ex-boss, could be a family friend. Essentially someone who's been there and done it, knows the world, and dispenses wisdom. And somebody whose opinion you value. And you should ideally be selecting that mentor for yourself. A coach, on the other hand, does not tell. The whole sort of the core of coaching is that you ask powerful questions. You ask questions so that your coachee or the individual that you're coaching can find out the answers for himself or herself. Right? So there's a lot of asking and very little telling. And coaching is also about often real-time feedback. And the coach is typically somebody who's in your current ecosystem, right? Who understands either your domain or is in your current workplace, ideally your boss or your boss's boss. So think about simplistically as a mentor as someone who guides your career journey. It's a long-term relationship. A coach can often be short-term. A coach guides your current practice, not necessarily your journey. Coaches, we also know, come in different shapes and forms. They can be external as well, right? In addition to the leaders that we think ought to be coaching. Right? So that's at the very outset the difference. And most of us are fortunate enough to have a mentor at some time in our life. Somebody or the other has given us advice. And as women, we know that often the advice is also unsolicited. A lot of people want to tell us what to do, right? Coaches, on the other hand, are those that are genuinely keen on making us become more capable, or giving us more clarity and confidence to perform. And I'm not surprised about a lot of you not having these coaches. They should ideally be your managers or your colleagues or people in your current ecosystem.
Fantastic. You know, I always used to just kind of confuse the both. I just thought a mentor was a coach was a mentor, but it's nice to see that each has its role and each has something to provide as well. Is there something we should expect from a mentor that we would not expect from a coach, and vice versa?
Yeah, and having said that, life isn't black and white, right? So there will be some overlaps. But again, go to a mentor for advice. Go to a mentor when you feel that the individual can truly add value. Mentors can sometimes, also be those that, because of their influence, can open doors for you. They can guide you to the right destination. Coaches, by the very definition, should not be giving you the answer. these coaches, the only role that they should play for you is to make you think for yourself, to unleash those reservoirs of innovation and creativity. Because if a coach is telling you what to do, in a sense, they're making mini me's of you. So this is how I did it, and this is how you should do it. It's a very different role. I don't think a coach necessarily is at that level of competence, or that should be the expectation. In fact, if you don't get enough coaching from your bosses, from those that you should be getting from, whether it's colleagues, senior colleagues, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have somebody, an investor, seek that coaching, ask for that coaching. So these are not two mutually exclusive groups. And I'm not suggesting that you need to have one over the other, but there's a place for both. So if you aren't getting enough coaching, please seek it. Because the only way we become more capable, we assemble our own career ladder, we go higher, is when somebody's consciously helping us get there. By asking us powerful questions, making us think for ourselves.
Excellent. So there are times where we should be looking to be told a little bit more what to do. And there are times where we need someone to help us figure it out for ourselves, which I love. And I love that distinction. Let's throw up the third poll question. So this was an interesting one as well. Do you currently have a sponsor? So again, the answers are yes, no, and not sure. And the reason I thought this was interesting is because I never really thought of, when you think of leadership, whether it be as a mentor or as a coach, I never really thought about that word sponsor. So I'm very interested to see how many of us say that we do have a sponsor, how many of us say we don't, and even more interested to see how many of us say we're not sure. So the poll is in progress. Go ahead and answer. And then Carolyn, as soon as those results are high enough to post, please do. Ah, interesting. Okay, so a third of us say we do have a sponsor. 41% say we don't, and just about under a third say we're not sure. Ruchira, again, seeing these results, what do you think?
Actually, pretty impressive, I have to say, because the concept of a sponsor, or at least speaking about who a sponsor is, what a sponsor does for you, is a fairly recent phenomenon. We weren't addressing these concepts until very recently. I didn't know about it, to be honest, until I started writing the book. And I read an article in HBR, which I've used several references to it. It says women are over-mentored and completely under-sponsored, right? So a lot of people are telling us what to do. Coaching, we've already established, is not something we get or the men get. Coaching per se is not happening. But the sponsorship angle is completely missing from our lives, because who is a sponsor? A sponsor goes the extra mile to open the door for you. A sponsor will pick up the phone and say, I know Ekta, she's fantastic at what she does. I think you should consider her for the next role. So sponsors don't stop short at giving you advice about life and say, oh, this would be good for you. They actually invest in your success, right? They stick their neck out for you. They open doors for you. And this is a recent phenomenon. And more and more, I encourage young women to say that, don't hesitate if you feel that you have somebody who you trust, who knows you, who knows who you have credibility with, who's seen the kind of work you've done. Seek that sponsorship. Say, I would love to get this role in the retail department. Do you think you could just check with the group head of retail? I'm making this up, but I think you get it. And more often than not, we stop short of asking, and those are the people who sponsor us. So I think if I can sum it up, a coach helps, a mentor tells or guides, and a sponsor invests in you. And we really, all of us need sponsors. I've had some, but they've almost always been men, I must admit.
The nature of the beast sometimes, right? So we understand that. So thank you for that, because for me, I felt that I've had mentors, I've had coaches. I don't know how many times I've gone that extra mile to ask for the sponsorship as someone being led, nor have I necessarily thought of offering the sponsorship when I was in the mentor or the lead role. And I think it's just it just never occurred to me. So for me, that was one of the aha moments. And yes, we got some chats in in the chat, we did see some comments of people agreeing with you. Yes, women are over mentored. We are constantly being told what to do. So it is refreshing to finally actually be told that it's okay to think that. It's okay to think that we're always told what to do. Ask for the coaching, ask for the sponsorship. We did have a question come in the Q&A about this topic. So I'm going to throw that out right now. What do you do if you have a coach or a boss that you want coaching from, but they don't have the industry expertise that you're looking for?
A lot of times, we have to accept the fact that there are two types of coaches, right? There are those that can specifically help you with your current domain, your current industry practice, and often they come in the shape and form of your own boss. That should be the ideal scenario. A boss or a peer or a colleague, someone who understands. But remember, we also have external coaches that we engage. But the whole sort of essence of coaching is that the individual has to ask probing and powerful questions. Now, I often do coaching, right? And it's industry agnostic. I may have worked a lot more in financial services and telecoms, but in the recent past, I've done a lot of work in medical devices. And I knew nothing about it. I mean, why would I lie? I knew a little bit about it. It was hard work. It's hard work. I did have to read up about it, but my job was not to assist the individual become, take his or her technical competence to the next level. I was just helping the individual become a better version of himself or herself by understanding what his or her career goals were, how could he navigate that, and that's also coaching. So if you feel that you need capability in your current domain, which is more technical coaching, then you need to seek somebody in the ecosystem if it's not coming through your manager. But coaching is not just about domain expertise or industry knowledge.
That makes sense. Thank you for that. Thank you. We will have time for Q&A at the end of this as well. So Ikta, if you can put up this other screen for this next question, we actually want to give you all a scenario, and I'd like to show it to you so that you can see it as I read it to you. We're going to show you a job posting. So let me see if I can make that bigger. Okay, so the job is for ABC Cybersecurity. It's a startup in the e-commerce space. And what they do is provide fraud prevention and payment service software. So that is the company, a startup. The job description, they're looking for a sales director. This person needs to market plans and target e-commerce segments specifically with fashion, beauty, entertainment, household goods, and electronics, amongst others, but those are their focus. Now, here's what they're looking for. They want someone with 10 plus years experience in business development, specifically in e-commerce, payments, and fraud protection. Very specific. Previously, they want to know that this person has previously built strategic partnership relationships and has a minimum of 15 years of related experience with a focus on enterprise software sales and enablement. A bachelor's degree, strong business technical and sales acumen with an understanding of complex sales cycles, processes, and methodologies, and just experience designing, building, and delivering enablement programs. Now here we have Delilah. She is currently working for a major international bank in their IT department, specifically with cybersecurity, the cybersecurity team, to enable the business's customers, their business customers. So this is B2B for their online banking functions. She partners with sales department all the time to create materials for small, medium, and large businesses across several industries. And she's been in this role for 5 years. prior to that, she actually did work for a startup in the HR software space. This was also on the security side, and here was to ensure that the high privacy compliance as employees use their system for major HR functions was always met. The role was a cross between sales, marketing, and targeting the retail industry. And
Ekta, I wonder if you'd like to finish reading the slide for us?
Yeah, agree.
Yes, not sure where Nima could finish it, but we are basically, I think Nima was finishing the slide, prior employment, and it was at the last point, role was a cross between the sales and marketing targeting the retail industry. Are we back? Okay. I think you must have.
yes,
Yeah, Nima.
I think the
You're
wind
back?
got the best of me here. Yes,
Please
sorry
go ahead.
about that. The wind is fierce here, so we're having some issues with the connectivity. But yeah, so it is across, the role did cross those different functional areas. And she does have an MBA, not just a bachelor's, but she has an MBA. So Carolyn, if you can put up the last full question. The question for you all is, if you were Lila in this position, you see her experience, you saw the job posting, would you apply for this position? And again, it's just a yes, no, or not sure. Just your gut reaction. I'm also fighting this from over.
Nima, I'm sorry, but we cannot hear you. You're cutting out really bad. So I wonder if it would be helpful if you turned your video off to save your bandwidth, and then we'd be able to hear you. Also, we've only at 55% of the poll. Can I get some more folks to vote, please?
Here, let's see if we can continue to move up.
There we go. We can hear you better, Nima.
Answers. Let's show those results. Better. In fact, passes.
Wow.
So interesting. So 60% of you said if you were Lila, you would in fact apply for the position. Fantastic. About just under a third said no, and then some said not sure. Ruchira, what do you see here? What do you see in these results? Typical or atypical?
Clearly not typical. And you missed the last bit. You said they have an MBA, but you forgot they have an MBA from Booth. That changes everything. Everybody who has an MBA from Booth thinks differently, one hopes. I guess the point we were making here, and Nima, if your audio quality goes downhill again, I'll take it up from there. I know you spend a lot of time and energy working on this with Ekta, so appreciate it, but sometimes these things happen, right? A lot of you might have been aware of this research, but I think I'll just use this opportunity to talk about it a little bit. Many years ago, HP did a study. And in the study, they were trying to understand how they could get more women to senior leadership roles. And as they started looking at their personnel records, they realized that every time they opened up jobs for senior jobs for applications to the current pool of employees, they realized that women only applied for those jobs when they had 100%. They ticked 100% of those the criteria or the qualification criteria. Men, on the other hand, even if they had 60% of what was required, were out there, right? And sort of that brought about this debate. And this is a study which is quoted very often, where underqualified and unprepared men will never, ever hesitate to lean in, to apply for jobs, to ask for raises. Whereas women believe they can only do it if they're perfect or nearly perfect. It's this quest for perfection that often holds us back. Call it the confidence factor, and that comes through very, very strongly. Whether it's a Sheryl Sandberg who's graciously endorsed my book, or many other successful women, We're often plagued by self-doubt. When we get fantastic opportunities, we ask ourselves, was I really deserving of it? When we ask for promotions or raises, we constantly undervalue and undermine ourselves. And psychologists and scientists are now telling us it's not the fact that we don't negotiate right. It's just that we don't know what we're worth, because we're constantly told to believe that unless we are 100% there, we shouldn't go out and raise our hands. It's this whole sort of controversy, or this whole sort of about nurture over nature. It's how we've been brought up, right? I guess bottom line is, as coaches, as women leaders, which we all are, when we have opportunities to coach and nurture other women, we need to create safe spaces where we need to amplify the message that it's okay to take risks. It's okay to take chances. It's time to stop overthinking and it's time to take actions. What's the worst thing that can happen? Ekta can still apply for this job. Laila, in this case, Laila can still apply for this job, even if she doesn't get it. But what dooms us or dooms women in general is that we give up even without entering the race. We decide we're not good enough and hence we don't get in there. And that was it. But this poll truly tells us a very different story. So it's very heartening to see that the trends are changing and that we are going all out, even if that job profile and the qualifications were not 100% match. And we need more Lailas like that. And it's up to us to create more Lailas. So thank you for participating.
Fantastic. It's good to see that we have such confident booth women that we would apply, because since it is unusual to see that, it's nice to see that we having gone to booth, have that confidence. So thank you for that. The next thing, if you can just confirm if I'm heard, Ruchira, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay,
So
fantastic. I'm going to stay off video just to be safe. But this next piece is going to be kind of fun. We're going to do a little role play. So Ekta and I are going to have a leader and someone who is being led conversation. So this is the before, and let's play that through. Ready, Ekta?
Yes.
Hi, Ekta. Good to see you again. So how is it going?
Good. I actually wanted to speak to you about the marketing director role that is opening up in the retail group here. It's the next step from my current marketing manager role. While I really enjoy working for you in the banking group, I thought it would be good to gain experience in another industry to help me round out my perspective and knowledge base.
Well, that's a bit of a stretch for you. I don't think you're ready. That role really does require some more experience.
Oh, thanks for your input. So you think I should go ahead and apply, or do you think it would be a futile effort?
Frankly, the decision is yours, but I personally feel you're not ready. Okay, we're going to end the scene there. So Ruchira, what do you think of this conversation?
Honestly, I don't know. It wasn't much of a conversation because Nima went to, I imagine, somebody she trusts in the organization, a senior leader. And she seeks its leader's advice on whether she should be applying for this role in a different division, a marketing role. She's currently a marketing manager, just to sort of paraphrase. She's currently a marketing manager. She wants to take on the role of a marketing director, but in a different part of the banking system, in the retail organization. Let's assume she's in wholesale banking, right? And she goes to this boss, and the boss's boss says, no, I don't think you're ready. For starters, Nima doesn't press for details. Doesn't want to know why I'm not ready. Where are the gaps in my skills?
Just
or
quick correction.
Sorry. Ekta doesn't know. Ekta doesn't ask, right? Ekta doesn't ask. Ekta doesn't ask why. So she doesn't ask the right questions. Nima, the leader, who is either the coach or the mentor, but in this case, neither, does not give advice, does not ask powerful questions, is rather directive and says, I don't think you're ready. There is really no emphasis on trying to find out what Ekta's current career aspirations are, why she wants to apply for that job, how you as a leader could actually help her go higher, build her capability. Perhaps you could have stopped and given her more clarity. She sounded very confused to me. And we face these situations every day when people come to us either seeking advice. There was many an opportunity that was missed here, right? At both ends, I think. And also from Ekta's perspective, I didn't think she gave much background to Nima. There was very little talking about why I want to do this role. Oh, by the way, I want to move to the next. Oh, I love working for you, but I want to go to the next unit. And that's not a great interaction at both ends. I think Ekta and Nima have done a fantastic job of scripting the after. So I'm going to just sit back and let you listen to the after and then react to it.
Okay, thank you, Ruchira. So let's see if we can do this better. Hi, Ekta. Good to see you again. So how's it going?
Great. I actually wanted to speak to you about the marketing director role that is opening up in the retail group here. It's the next step from my current marketing manager role. While I really enjoy working for you in this banking group, I thought it would be good to gain experience in another industry to help me round out my perspective and knowledge base.
Well, it's good to be thinking about your next move. Up until now, most of our check-ins have been centered on what you need to succeed here, helping you navigate the organization, understand some of the politics, et cetera, involved. But we've never really talked about your aspirations. What do you ultimately want to do, whether it be here or anywhere else?
Honestly, I have always wanted to eventually work in the beauty industry. I really enjoy working on the customer experience team, developing an experience to delight our customers. I would love to eventually design customer experiences for an online beauty company.
Well, I think you've done very well here, and you're obviously adept at building experiences in our industry. But do you think you're ready to take that on in a different industry altogether?
What do you see as my gaps in my knowledge or experience?
Well, currently, you take inputs from various other teams, like market research, customer satisfaction, and you create customer experience. But how much do you really know about why or how you get that specific information that you receive as input? So that's one thing to consider. Also, do you know what it takes to execute on the experiences that we develop here? I believe if you want to bring these concepts to another industry, you may want to gain a deeper understanding of the upstream as well as the downstream of what you're seeing here in this role today.
That makes sense. But I feel I'm ready to make a move from where I am now and progress towards gaining that broader perspective.
That's good. So how do you think you can best get that experience?
I'm not really sure. What if I took on a role in one of those other departments, market research or marketing execution, and then at some point moved to the other?
Well, that's one way to go, but you don't have to necessarily focus on one and then the other consecutively, right? It doesn't have to be a linear process here. So have you considered how you might gain the experience or knowledge both concurrently? Perhaps hands-on experience with one and just more exposure to another, for example.
I really never thought of that. I think it would be good to get my hands into the marketing execution side, but perhaps getting some additional exposure to the upstream pieces as well. You know, I heard the marketing research team has a monthly lunch and learn. Perhaps I can attend those to build some relationships, learn more about what they do and the challenges they face, maybe even partner on them with something.
That sounds like a great strategy and approach. I know that the marketing execution team is looking to add some more roles there. So it would be a lateral move, but I believe with the experience you've gained so far and the reputation you've built for yourself with me and your colleagues, I have no doubt that you will shine there and be considered for promotion when one is available. But as next steps, why don't we get your resume together? I'm happy to take a look to ensure we're highlighting the great work you've done here, which would be most applicable to marketing execution. And then we can move forward from there.
Thanks, Nima. I appreciate you helping me think this through and coming up with something that really suits me and where I want to go. I really appreciate.
My pleasure, Ekta. All right, Ruchira, how did that go? Was that better?
Yeah, your video was perfect. We could hear you, and it was awesome. I was like, okay,
That was a long
let her-
discussion.
yeah, I was really worried because that's you can't. I couldn't have sort of subbed for you if you disappeared at that point. So thank you for that. Okay, so it was near perfect, and if only life was as perfect. This was an ideal sort of scenario where your boss was this perfect coach, boss's boss, or whoever in the ecosystem. Couple of things. I think. I'm going to use a model to describe it, but let me first get started. I think the one thing that for me sort of glued this together beautifully was that element of trust, right? Um, the leader that Ekta approached, Nima, clearly built trust by saying, we've never really talked about your career aspirations. It's always been about work. And that immediately sort of makes the individual say, yeah, I can be myself. Otherwise, why would you volunteer information saying, eventually I want to enter the beauty industry, right? Because what you're effectively telling somebody who's probably your boss's boss or a senior leader is that, you know what, I'm kind of done with banking. I'd like to learn more marketing, but eventually I want to get out of here. And in essence, I want you to help me get out of here. And that individual's helping you, right? Because you built that trust equation. So that I thought started off beautifully. And then there was a lot of things that came together beautifully. It was that constant sort of dose of confidence. You're doing really well here, but are you ready? Are you ready to go to a completely different department? So there was this whole element of, have you thought through this? Have you reflected? It's about you, not the individual telling you not to do. That'll make Ekta think about it. It's self-reflection. It's getting more consciousness or rather self-awareness. So that was a piece. Then you went on to talk about one, to me, a very, very big piece, which is you help the individual think through the various options. And there was the aha moment where Ekta says, I didn't think about that. So the answer is here. But the coach was helping you think through all these various options, but you were coming up with the solutions. You were owning the solution, right? There was a lot of creativity. And the individual was also helping you sort of look beyond your current horizon, right? In fact, they say the most successful people have a long-term horizon. They think beyond what is here and now into open spaces. And that's what that leader was helping you do, making you more capable, untapping those reservoirs of creativity and innovation that you had, but didn't know how to go about. And the third piece was your career ladder. In fact, the way I understood it, I overheard Nima saying, it doesn't have to be linear. I think it's a fantastic statement. Because why do we always believe that a career A has to be a ladder? And why does a ladder have to be vertical? Why do we have to climb one rung after another? I mean, my own career has been so squiggly and wiggly, and I don't know. I mean, I tell people it's zigzag and funny, but in an interview, I'd say it's a very eclectic career ladder or eclectic career path. So I've gone up and down and horizontal. And I honestly didn't think when I started out in life I'd ever write a book or become a coach, right? In the end, we define what success is and what happiness is. And the path to getting there doesn't have to be a straight line. But when you, as a leader, get that you are the coach, you have to give people the confidence that in the end, it's about, you have to chart out your own path. You have to assemble that own ladder and you have to hack that ladder as needed. In fact, experts are telling us that it doesn't have to be a ladder at all. Why can't it be a career framework? And you can have flexibility in that framework and you can go up and down and make all sorts of shapes, right? So I think that came through really wonderfully as well. And the last bit I thought was a lot of clarity again. Oh, I know what to do now. Thank you very much. So I loved it. And I would love to share with you a model that I put together, a framework, which is in the book as well. And the reason I thought you might enjoy it is because when I started to write, except you can put it up whenever, I'll keep talking through it, the 4 C's model. When I started writing the book, I realized, one of the chapters should really be devoted to what coaching can do for you, right? What is coaching all about? And it's a tad embarrassing to admit, but I couldn't articulate it. I looked through a lot of HR journals. I looked through a lot of accreditation coaching sites. And I heard there were very lofty statements. Coaching gives you return on investment. Coaching helps you unleash your potential. Coaching helps you untap those reservoirs of creativity. And those are fantastic statements, by the way. I've used them quite liberally in the book. But it was not telling me what coaching does. And in order to build a compelling business case for coaching, I needed those constructs. So I started to build my own framework. After all, good academics need to have frameworks. And I found the inspiration in a very unlikely place. My son was watching Kung Fu Panda, I think, for the 100th time. And in this particular instance, I actually stood there and I saw it. And I realized a lot of life lessons come from the world of performing arts or movies or sport. So I looked at decoding coaching through some very unconventional sources. And I've used a lot of those examples in the book. I call it the 4Cs or 4C plus model. And it's basically depicted by 4 cornerstones. The first is capability. How do you make the individual more capable, right? And the 3 dimensions of capability, as I've defined them, you help the individual become more creative. So as Richard Branson calls it, ABCD. It's about connecting the dots. It's about it's about creating safe spaces so that people feel they can be themselves. They can come up with new ideas, novel ways of doing things, a lot like what Ekta was doing about her own career, with a lot of help from her coach. The second piece is looking into the horizon that I talked about. So look into the future, reimagine the future. And the third bit is, I think some of you in the chat agree as well. It's about the career. The career doesn't have to be a ladder anymore. It doesn't have to be linear. And you need that coach to give you the confidence and that sort of validation that, yes, it doesn't have to be this way. And it doesn't have to be. And in this case, in this particular instance, I think Ekta took on a role which was a lateral role. And the realization that sometimes you have to go slow to go fast is perfectly all right. We don't have to jump one rung after another rung. We'll get to the destination. Consciousness is just another word for self-awareness, right? I think the leader in this case did a fabulous job of that. But that, I think, is a completely underrated trait of a leader coach. You have to give the people that work with you, work for you, that are your colleagues, greater consciousness to go forward. Your own shortcomings, your unique strengths, that's what consciousness is. The third piece is clarity. A lot of people I interviewed said that this, in their mind, was perhaps the most important factor, just the ability to think through the different options and the different scenarios. And the last piece, confidence. I think, in fact, this, to my mind, is perhaps the most important cornerstone, especially when you're coaching women leaders. And I think I talked about this extensively with the HP study. What we need to bridge as leaders and coaches is that confidence gap that plagues us, plagues all of us. Plagues Nima, I'm sure, plagues me, plagues Sheryl Sandberg. She writes about this story when Mark Zuckerberg made her the offer to become the CEO of Facebook. And she was ecstatic because she truly wanted that job. And she comes back home and her brother-in-law, I think, says, I hope you're not going to accept the first offer. And then her first reaction was, are you kidding me? I waited for this so long. If I go back to Mark and he decides to play hardball, and he apparently rams his fists onto the table, which I won't do for you, and said, damn it, Cheryl, why would you get less for this job than any other man? And that sort of tells you, at every level, despite our successes, it's a confidence gap. And as a good coach, if we can help the individual go forward, we can spur that self-belief. Frankly, confidence is not about how you look or how you feel. It's about the belief in your abilities, the belief that translates into action, which often we don't take because we want to be perfect. That's what coaching is all about. And if you're in organizations where there's a culture that promotes that coaching, where we have bosses that constantly encourage you to seek feedback, give that feedback, coaching is a lot easier. So if we are entrepreneurs, or if we are in positions where we can influence that culture, even if microcosmically, we should go ahead and do it. That would be my message for you.
Thank you for that, Ruchira. I think it's very interesting that story that you told about the woman who is working at Facebook. It's true. How many of us, when we get that dream job, we jump to it and we don't want to do anything to rock the boat, right? And
Nima, it wasn't any woman. It was Sheryl Sandberg.
Yeah. I don't want to name drop, but yes. So, I mean, if you think about that, it's obviously something that no matter what level we get to, that we're still experiencing things like that, right? So it's not that now that we're further along in our career, we're at that level, that suddenly we've got this, we've got the confidence, we've got the clarity, the consciousness, that we've got all that even for ourselves. So you had mentioned to me that even later on in your career, coaching well, it might not come from a leader because you're at a point where you might not get that from a Mark Zuckerberg, but that you still would need to seek that out. So I thought that was interesting as well, that as you get further up in your career, can you speak to just where we should look for that coaching as we get further along in our careers?
No, in the course of researching the book, one thing that sort of totally grabbed me was, as women, young women, older women, we have to stop believing that mentoring and coaching will happen to us. We have to start looking at our careers from the sidelines. We have to take action. And if you are in a position of influence, then coach people. When you see young women walk into meetings and don't fully present themselves, if they don't have a voice, give them in the moment mentorship. If you have the ability to connect them, go forward and do it. And seek the same for yourself. Ask for connections. If your boss can't be a sponsor for you, your boss can certainly connect you to the right people. And unless you seek, you won't get. So seek that for yourself and do that for the people that you lead or work with. There's so much out there, but we can't be bystanders. We have to assemble our own career ladders to go forward in life.
Agreed. Thank you very much. We do have a question that came in, so I'm going to give that to you now. This woman is very grateful for your work. It does appear to her that the new leadership is navigating uncertainty, fostering connectedness, valuing authenticity, and diverse voices. The question is, do you agree that this is a very feminine, not necessarily gender-based, but a feminine or perhaps softer sense of leadership, an inside job first to be able to create conditions for all to rise?
I agree 100%. In fact, the new world of leadership or reimagining leadership, in many ways, a lot of these characteristics of a good leader, as we define them, are rather feminist or feminine characteristics, but doesn't mean they're all female. But I've never applauded this command and control style, and I don't think anybody needs to. But by writing the book, I wanted to present a different model of leadership. The fact is, you can grow your people and your numbers. When you focus on your people and you groom them and you hone their unique strengths, the numbers will follow. And that's the change we need to make. By rather than sort of belittling or berating that model that has existed, which is alpha and masculine, I'm simply saying there's another world out there. And people that lead by leading others, by coaching and leading others, are also successful. And the numbers are corroborating. In true Chicago boot style, there's a lot of research, including research from BCG, that says organizations that invest in their people, that have leadership pipelines, are 2.2% more likely to have greater revenue generation and more profitability than those that don't, the talent magnets versus the talent laggards. And there's a lot out there. But the point being, these so-called feminine characteristics is what's changing the world. And we need more of them. And we need to applaud the leaders that do it right.
Fantastic. And this is just so you all know, there's so much in Ruchira's book. There's so many tips and actions you can take to get better at this type of leadership. And so I'm very grateful, Ruchira, for you being here, sharing just a snippet of the methodologies and the insights to help us all become more effective leaders and drive our leaders to be more effective in leading us. So I like that you really did speak to us here on both sides of that coin. We have a few minutes for questions. Do we have any more questions specifically for Ruchira? You can type them into the Q&A. Let me see if anything comes in. It's a lot to take in. And I know we don't have too much time left, but trust me, it's a quick read because it's so well written that you feel like someone is actually in the room speaking to you versus reading a book on leadership, which many of us have. So I do encourage you to grab a copy, sit out in the sun and read away. So it is a wonderful read. And I think everyone in that book when you read that book, you have your own aha moments. What seemed enlightening for me may not be enlightening for others, but you may find your own aha moment. So by all means, please do grab a copy and let us know what you think.
I have a question, not for Ruchira, but for Nima, because Ruchira endorsed in the beginning of the session saying Nima is one person who's read the book most actively and perhaps may know more what is there in the book. So Nima, what was your aha moment, since you referred to aha moments a couple of times? What was your aha moment or one takeaway before we all go? One takeaway from the lady whose initiative is this, because of which we all are here, right? So yes.
That's fantastic. I don't think as a moderator I've gotten a question before, so bravo for whoever asked the question.
We do have one more question in the chat, so if you want to think about it,
Fantastic. So we'll get through it quickly. I think the biggest one for me was the lack of sponsorship. So I think it was not something I asked for. I was grateful when someone was happy to forward a resume on my behalf. To actually ask them to pick up the phone and call, which is so much stronger. I never thought to even ask that, nor have in many situations I have thought to offer that. So for me, that was kind of enlightening to think of that word sponsorship within the context of either coaching or mentor, because I didn't seek it out, nor did I offer it. So it just wasn't on my radar. So that for me was a big eye opener.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
And then we have another question. I guess it's a comment. Critical messages for the 21st C leadership. So C-suite, so which is fantastic. You mentioned there's one in the chat.
I think that was it. But anyway, I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at time now. But I'm just going to say one more thing. Thank you for being a fabulous audience, and sorry for all the. It was patchy in bits. We've had our moments, and I know it's hard work to go through this, but these two women here have spent a lot of time and energy putting it together. As I said earlier, I've done many fireside chats, but I've never seen anything as structured. So I'm very grateful to you for the opportunity. My only message today would be coaching, as I said earlier, has never been more important than it is today. In this new change reality, this hybrid world where we're not always working from home now, it will be a combination approach. We have to work that much harder to pick up the spoken words and the unspoken words through a screen. So keep enabling, keep coaching, become those uncommon leaders, keep shining the light on others so you can shine brighter.
Thank you, Ruchira. And thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed this event and will perhaps participate and even bring a fellow alum to our future CBWN events. Before you go, a few quick things. The conversation does not have to end here. Ruchira is on our Facebook and LinkedIn groups. Please do join them and ask her questions, connect with her. I'm sure she's happy to share. This is also a great place for you to get information from about what's going on with CBWN. We do events, but we also have other social events coming up. So please, by all means, join those groups. Look for our newsletter. You'll see one coming out later this month. That's where you can get all the information, and then bookmark our events page or bookmark our webpage within the Alumni Relations website. Always can get the information there. This does bring a close to our 2021 Leadership Summit, Women Leading in a Time of COVID and Post-COVID. Our next series of events will be called Beyond Brunches, and this is targeted to take place the months of July and August. Some you may see in June if they're virtual. If anyone here would like to volunteer to host one in their city, in their area, please reach out to us through the links in our newsletter, our social media pages, or even our website. And then finally, we're always trying to improve our events. After this event, you will get a 1-minute survey. I promise it's 1 minute. Just a quick question to let us know what you think. And that just helps us make sure that we're bringing you relevant programming that you could only expect coming from CBWN, because it is women focused. It is a safe space for us to discuss things that we might not discuss elsewhere. And it's a way for us all to empower one another. So thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing you to future events like this one. Have a great day, everyone.